Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome in for 30 books in 30 weeks. It's Marcy here. So what's up? We are 170 days on this journey together of sharing ahas and tips and tools and takeaways and little moments. And so 30 books in 30 weeks, I cannot believe we're already almost in week 24, like 6 weeks left out of 30. When I started this 24 weeks ago, 30 weeks seemed like it was going to be forever. And now we're approaching the downhill slide, and it seems like it's just been gone just that quick. But wow, I can't believe, yeah. So we're almost into week 24 out of the 30. This week's book has been The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, a book that many people have read. My hair is like super crazy today. A lot of people have read the book. You not only have to read this book, you have to really interpret this book, and you have to really dive in and be willing to be honest about where you sit. Like, what space do you sit in as it relates to your love language and your willingness to learn someone else's. It doesn't do any good just to read the book if you're not willing or committed to putting any of it into practice, and certainly if you're not willing to make any changes or adjustments. Awareness alone is not ever going to get you to where you want to go. So I'm talking today, as we do the wrap up for this week's book, The 5 Love Languages. So as you guys come in, feel free to share this video out. I'm not going to be on here a real long time, but I do want to kind of talk about a pretty serious subject matter, which is betrayal and trust. So my name is Marcy Batiste. For those of you who may be popping in for the very first time, I am America's #1 success and recovery, reality-based success and recovery trainer. I live life on Mars. I'm sold out to my happiness. Those are two things that's very important for everyone who engages with me to know and understand about me. And the thing that I love the most is to be able to help other women discover and embrace their star power. To really, I enjoy being able to be the spark that ignites the light for someone. So like when I see the light bulb come on, when I see an idea popping off, that's what excites me. That's what moves me and keeps me motivated to keep doing what I do. So with that, I welcome you to the Ultimate Power Team. So we're talking today as I wrap up this book, The 5 Love Languages. And as you may know, I'm working on my next book. It's the sequel in a trilogy for Love Miscarriage, and it's called Rebranding Trust. And so that's when I picked up this book. I was like, okay, I need to take myself back down some roads that I've been down before, but I needed to do a little bit of a refresher and really think about how do you rebrand trust, particularly after a betrayal. And when we think of betrayals, we think oftentimes of infidelity, we think of cheating, we think of lies. There's money manipulations, there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuses. So there are all kinds of betrayals that we can experience in relationships, and not just intimate partner relationships. So when we talk about relationships, remember that's everyone that you come in contact with on a daily basis or a regular basis. You have a base of a relationship of some sort with them, albeit it might be rather distant, it might be only associates, business related, whatever. Not all of them are intimate relationships, certainly. But even to that point, people are often violated in business relationships. People are often violated in community relationships, family relationships. There's just so many types of betrayals out there. There's so many types of violations. And so I was thinking, the book says, I just don't know if I can ever love him again after all he's done to me. And I want to talk about, in particular, all he's done to me. I want to take you guys somewhere a little bit different with that. And I want to break down what he's done to me. And I want you to realize and this is going to may sound weird coming from somebody who has a history of being in a relationship that ended in domestic violence, physical abuse, because people often refer to that as what he's done to me, right? And I really honestly had to take myself completely out of the situation and objectively look in there and say, yes, the physical abuse was it committed against me, but I couldn't look at the whole scope of the relationship as this is what he's done to me, per se. And I think sometimes, in lesser instances, maybe a lie, an untruth, even an infidelity, we take it as what they've done to me, and they're not really doing it to you. The impact is that you're hurt, no doubt. The impact is that you feel betrayed, no doubt. But the reality, most of the time, they weren't doing it to you. They were doing it for other self-serving reasons. They were doing it for other purposes, but they weren't specifically doing it to you. And so when I think about how you rebrand trust and you learn to rebuild trust after some sort of a betrayal, such as infidelity or being lied to repeatedly, if you take yourself out of the experience and say, this individual told a lie, not this individual told a lie with the intent to deceive me. The intent usually isn't to deceive you. The intent is to protect their bad behavior. And so when you place the blame and the obligation where it belongs, and it absolves you of any feelings of guilt or like they really just did it against you, they did it to you. No, they did it to protect themselves. And one of the questions that people ask, after a situation like that oftentimes is, are you really sorry, or are you sorry that you got caught? And you have to understand, the lie isn't to deceive you. The lie is to keep them from being uncovered. It's to keep them from being put on blast. It's a defense mechanism for them to protect and defend their bad behavior. 90% of the time, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you, other than the result of the deceit, the result of the behavior may be that your feelings are hurt and you feel betrayed and you feel violated. Those are valid feelings, but understanding that someone didn't set out to intentionally do that to hurt you. So let's take cheating, for example. They didn't set out to hurt you. They set out for some sort of self-satisfying whatever, but it was never to hurt you, because ultimately they never wanted you to find out. So if I set out to hurt you, then my intention is going to be for you to find out. However, the lie and the deception comes because they don't want you to find out. So therefore, when you understand that and you look at it in that perspective, you understand, well, if they never wanted me to find out, then they didn't set out to deceive me. They set out to protect their bad behavior. Yes, I found out. That was never the intention. I was hurt. That was never the intention. Their intention with that behavior never had a damn thing to do with you. And that's the piece where when we talk about how do you find love again after somebody's betrayed you, how do you figure out if you can trust that individual again, you have to put the obligation of and the intention of the behavior where it truly lies. And it has nothing to do with you. It wasn't committed against you. It was something that they did that impacted you. And so just shifting that mentality as to how you relate to other people's bad behavior, other people's choices. 9 out of 10 times when they behave badly and you are negatively impacted by it, has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them trying to protect and cover up their own bad behavior. So that's kind of the gist of where I really wanted to take this message with you guys today, as we're talking about, ow, Amara, as we're talking, she's running over my foot.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I forgot.
So, So ultimately, that's the whole thing, is placing the blame where the blame is supposed to be instead of owning it. And so many times we have a hard time forgiving, and we have a hard time trusting because we take it personal. We take it personal. And even in the case of infidelity, it's not personal against you. They found something that they wanted to do. They made an adult choice. Good, bad, or otherwise. Whether it's good or whether it was bad decision, that is all subject to the level of meaning that you place on it. Has nothing to do with the validity of, let's take about the act by itself, right? And when you break the act away and you break down, and you have to, and that's why I say, you guys, you have to take yourself completely out of the equation. It can't be about you, because if it's be about you, you're gonna respond in a personal manner, and you have to respond in a rational thought pattern. And the only way to do that is you take yourself out of the situation, and when you understand that the intent was never to hurt you, was never to deceive you, it was never supposed to affect you, their bad behavior, whatever that was. So therefore, if it was never supposed to, you were never supposed to know, then it was never intended to hurt you or deceive you. And then that's when you can begin to repair your association with that person. You can begin to rebuild relationships to your comfort. Now, do I suggest anybody just runs right back into that relationship? No, I think it takes a lot of work. I know for a fact it takes a lot of work, but I also know that it can be done if you want to bad enough. Just knowing somebody's love language isn't going to be enough. It's not going to do it. It takes a lot of work, but you have to have some really basic foundational concepts nailed down as it relates to why people do what they do. Because oftentimes the hurt and the hurt comes from the deception, and the deception comes because we own the fact that they tried to do something to hurt us, when in fact they never wanted us to know about it. And that's the way you begin to rebuild trust after betrayal. Even if you decide that you never want to be in relation with that individual again, you have every right to decide that, but you have to reconcile it within yourself to say that it wasn't about me. It impacted me, but it wasn't about me. It had nothing to do with me to begin with. The end result impacted me. And so disassociating yourself, I shared a post earlier today that was talking about how detaching yourself from the story doesn't mean you've forgotten. It simply means you've forgiven. I don't have to remain attached to this story. I don't have to remain attached to abuse. I don't have to remain attached to lies and deceit and all those things. I can detach myself from them completely and absolve myself of an obligation of a relationship with that person. And I forgive you. I can wholly, totally forgive you, and let myself off the hook that way. That's what that detachment looks like. Let's see, you let go and you don't look back. If you're being deceived and your life is in danger because the other person isn't going to respect you because they're being under the influence of the devil. But if you stay around knowing what you know, then it's on you, because you can pull away anytime you want and think it's nice sitting, beautiful lady, thank you. And I'm not suggesting that you stay in a naive space. Like I said, you have to own the situation, but you can't assume ownership over somebody else's bad behavior. They made a decision that had nothing to do with you. And that's what I said. I'm not suggesting anybody stays in a relationship after deceit or betrayal, but what I'm suggesting is that if you want to, it's possible to rebuild trust. Here's the thing, whether you stay in that relationship or not, whether you can tell that person to kick rocks, get ghost, whatever, if you haven't done the work on yourself, you're going to take that hurt and that pain into the next relationship. And that's what this is about. This isn't about fixing shit for them. This is about fixing it for you. This is about making sure you're healed, and whole, so that when you go into the next relationship, you're not taking the baggage from the last into the next. Otherwise, your next is going to end up more likely the same way, because you're interacting and engaging in the same manner. Or you end up pushing that person away because you're overbearing, you're super needy, you're distrusting. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with somebody like that. So you have to heal and you have to do the work, and that's what that finding trust after betrayal. You don't have to trust the same person again, but you do have to learn how to trust again. And that's what rebranding trust is all about. And that's what I was reminded of as I was going through this book. It goes beyond the love languages. Love isn't always enough. Love isn't always enough. You got to go deeper. You got to be willing to go deeper. You got to be willing to take that deep dive and to sit in some ugliness sometimes and to do the work. All right? So that's the message tonight. As always, guys, thanks for living life on Mars, and welcome to the Ultimate Power Team. I'm glad you're here. Talk to y'all later.